Favorite Dudley Boys moment.
Hmm. One of my Mount Rushmore's tag. One of my Mount Rushmore tag teams in professional wrestling. They are on my Mount Rushmore. Um, I've been a fan. I've been a fan of. I didn't watch them in ECW much, so I really didn't kind of get the full Dudley Boy experience until they got to the World Wrestling Federation at the time. But from the time they hit the World Wrestling Federation to now, they are honest to God on my Mount Rushmore tag teams. Especially when you go back and you watch their ECW work, they were savages in ECW, especially Bubble. Like my God, didn't realize he was that much of a savage in ECW. And if y'all don't believe me, Google or YouTube ECW Heatwave promo. Come back and see me after you watch that promo. That's all I'm going to say about that. Um, my favorite Dudley Boys moment is really in correlation with a couple of other tag teams that we definitely like. The first two, well, actually, take that back. Three. The first three matches they had with each other, the Triangle Ladder match at WrestleMania, the TLC match at SummerSlam 2000, and then TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17. You cannot sit here. There, you will not find too many trilogies on the level of those three matches back to back to back. And I didn't even mention TLC 3, which they put on TV, which was still a banger. So, yeah, just for me, the reason I say those matches, but honestly, I just look at the Dudley Boys not being a traditional tag team. They were about like they were legit like about hurting people and violence and just taking things to another level. And I feel like those matches with Edge and Christian and the Hardys are really like just the personification of just the revolution of tag team wrestling and how those three teams pretty much put tag team wrestling on the map as far as the World Wrestling Federation or WWE was concerned then at the time. Where would tag team wrestling have been in that time frame without those three tag teams basically putting it in the main? They put tag team wrestling in the main event scene. Those three teams made they could those three teams could main event any pay-per-view. They put tag team wrestling on the main event stage. I just single out those three matches because those three matches for me were like just the culmination of one of the greater stories ever told in tag team wrestling, with basically the holy trinity of the late '90s, early 2000s in those three tag teams. I mean, and you just knew when you got two of them together or all three of them got together, you knew you weren't going to get a bad match. I mean, you could go to the Edge and Christian Hardy Boys ladder match at No Mercy 99. You could go back to the Dudley Boys Hardy Boys tables match of Royal Rumble 2000, the Edge and Christian Hardys Unforgiven 2000 Steel Cage match. I mean, these three teams just knew how to get the best out of each other regardless of what the match was. So I say those three ladder matches with all three of those teams together because it was just such a revolutionary thing to see at the time as far as tag team wrestling was concerned. And they knew how to bring the best out of each other. And they contributed their own kind of little form of violence in the way to that rivalry. And they were able to wrestle great matches. They were able to tell great stories. The psychology was on point. I mean, those are three matches I had. I would if you gave me a time capsule and you let me just pick like any 20 matches I want to keep in the time capsule for the rest of my days, I'm putting all three of those matches in there because they were all that good. So my favorite Dudley Boys moments of all times were the Triangle Ladder match and then TLC 1 and TLC 2. just because of the stories they told and just how much fun those matches were to watch.
Champ.
Oh man, look, oh hell of a segment of BRF #1, man, because that was the epitome of what tag team wrestling was all about, man. So I couldn't agree with you more. Me, you know me, I'm immature, so I'm just gonna be real. Remember when he went on the run when he was power bombing everybody through the tables? And every time he would powerball somebody, every time Bubba would powerball, he ended up back in a trance. And then the icing on the cake for every single time he put, whether it be Tori or Trish Stratus or Mae Young, the icing on the cake, the person who put the icing on the cake was good old JR. because
Commentary.
because man, because when he said that son of a gun is back in that trance, and the only way that JR can say it, that son of a gun is back in that trance. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, we forgetting one person for the Dudley Boys. Spike.
Like, yeah,
Like,
Spike would take beatings. I mean, they would beat
Did
the
you
stuff
see
out of him.
all them times he got thrown to them tables?
Yeah, that was he
Spike
was on.
Spike got the beats. My God, Spike got the beats.
Yeah, that was that was that was cool, man. You know, the whole especially when he powerbombed Mae Young off the stage, and then like I said, don't look at me like that. I'm not the one who wrote the show, but
May Young will
when he
forever
powered,
get my praise taking a table bump like that, bro.
yeah. So when she went off the table, not to mention Tori in the vignette, and I think the thing is that made you want to, because remember Trish Stratus back then was part of Testing Albert. So I think the whole thing that made you want her to see her go through the table even more when she was doing the promo with the table. That was crazy right there. So when after she did the promo, I was like, you wonder how long is it gonna take? How long is it gonna take? And then that segment finally happened. And then JR had to top it off. And he's back in that trance. Because you know, every time Bubba would put him through a table, he would just stare at the camera. That's what made it so funny, man. And then JR with the commentary, that just put the icing on the cake, man. So that reign of terror, that was that it was in 2000, by the way, of all times. It was in 2000. So, you know, that war with DX and you know, the wars with Tested Albert, you know, not to mention, you know, trying to powerbomb Mae Young to the table. That was a funny thing. It was very, very comical. And man, I enjoyed it, man. A lot of stuff back then wouldn't fly right now. I'll say that.
Go ahead.
Oh boy, real quick, I gotta mention this because Bubba Ray he told a story, like a story behind the whole Mae Young thing, and the jumping off of the and the jumping off the stage, putting it through the table. Because basically what it was, he told a story. He was like, she was like, tell him, nah, if you're gonna do it, do it. Go all out. Don't half-ass it. Do it. And it's funny because Bubba said, I did the spot, a power bomber through the table, and then we hit the floor. She farted on me. He told a story. I swear to God, I ain't never I ain't never laughed so hard in my life. He said that. I'm like, oh God, no, not that, bro.
May God have mercy.
Lord have mercy.
Hey, shout out to Bubba, shout out to Bully Ray. He told. I don't know how he could tell that story with a straight face, bro. I don't. I really don't. Oh boy. Oh
For me,
God.
I go the Great American Bash '04 when they fought the Undertaker. That was a heck of a match between them.